Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Analytics Instrumentation Sync on the 20th of June, 2023. We have a bunch of things on the agenda, and I think the first thing is the presentation of the new milestone, which is starting kind of right now. Tanuja, do you want to share the screen again and start the presentation?
Yeah, sure, I can share my screen. Let me just quickly open it up. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So these are our milestone objectives. Our top priority will be to work on any previous release carryovers and high priority maintenance issues and bugs as usual. We are also working on our FY24 Q2 OKRs. Just a reminder that this milestone will be the last for that OKR. I just want to point out that we're in a good position. Thank you all for all your great work in getting things done for the OKR. And I know we had some business critical issues that came up, like registration features. So despite that, we're in a good position. So the first here is the previous release carryovers. Those are high priority. We will be hopefully completing any pending issues with related to Python SDK. And also you will see that in the new feature work, our top priority is working through the depreciation of the existing Redis Hill and Snowflow tracking, as well as getting more internal events into a new unified tracking API. These are high priority because we are slightly behind on this when compared to some of the other OKRs with respect to SDKs. So hopefully we will have quite a bit done this milestone. The other is, so this next top priority is, automatically indicating whether users are GitLab team members. I know we did some work on this in 16.1. This automation will greatly help in kind of reducing the manual work and really help our business users in identifying who the end users are. For example, if you see our current code suggestions dashboard, we see a lot of total users, but it's kind of it would be more helpful to differentiate which of those were coming from GitLab team members versus external team members. So it looks like a small weight, but it'll really benefit the end users. The third is .NET SDK packages. We've seen some customer interest, and one of our customers in the next few days, probably, I'm not sure when exactly, but is sending us some project URLs for the experimentation phase. And some of those project URLs, especially the legacy systems, are in .NET. If you're interested, I can send you a link to an issue. I'll also add this to the agenda where you can read up more about the interest in the different language SDKs that they have shown. And finally, dog fooding product analytics SDKs. So this is for a current milestone. We have add browser SDK and implement the Ruby SDK and version app, and then add browser SDK to the version app. So the idea was to test a Ruby SDK and the version app before we dog food it with GitLab.com. This relates to using our internal event tracking API, converting web editor events to internal event tracking API. And final, in the last two list of priorities is app ID collisions with analytics, prevent app ID collisions with analytics configurator. This is not an immediate issue, is what I understand from Basti. So this would be good to have on the long term, though. And similarly, Ruby SDK, automate Ruby SDK, Ruby Gems releases. So this again is not a immediate priority, but it's definitely something that will be great to have on the long term. So those were with regard to prioritization of the product or new feature issues. I'll hand over to Basti for the engineering prioritize and quality list.
Before I go into those, are there any specific questions around the issues that Tanuja just laid out? Okay. I just want to kind of focus or just mention something again, just to make sure that it's kind of clear. So the target for the first part, where it's about deprecating the Redis HLL and snowplow tracking, is to kind of be as close to feature complete as possible, so that we can hand over or tell people to use the new APIs as much as possible already when they want to instrument any kind of new events, even though the documentation might not be 100% ready, also, which is not part of the milestone right now, is to actually deprecate then the old stuff, which is like actually marking it as deprecated, adjusting the danger bot to warn people if they want to instrument something with the old methodologies. And so I think that's the part that we're probably not going to be able to complete within our quarter. So that's the part of the OKR that we're going to miss. I think if we can manage to be kind of feature complete and in theory can kind of direct everyone to use the new tracking, the new events tracking, then that's already like a very, very good step, even though we haven't completed the complete objective to 100%.
Yeah. Thanks for adding that, Basti. That was an important point. Also, another point I missed is with regard to adding events to the new unified tracking API. So although in the OKR, our goal was to add 5 events, but we've kind of hoped to get as many events as possible because that will give us enough information on how our new event tracking API is doing, and will also help at the time we are deprecating.
Yeah. And the same goes for if you encounter anyone asking about like how to instrument certain things, and you think that whatever they want to instrument might be a good fit for the new event tracking API, then also please let them know and let us know. I think we had this once now where someone reached out in our chat, in our Slack channel, about kind of wanting to instrument something and being confused by like, should I use snowplow, should I use Redis HLL? In a lot of cases, they might not be needing to kind of instrument those things already in the current milestone. And so we can direct them towards using the new API and use those people as kind of user testers of our new API, and kind of lead them through it. So collecting those kind of instances where we can direct people towards the new thing is also already good. Okay, and then for the maintenance part, I think there's also a bunch of carryover that we have to still complete, and there's a few things that are kind of connected to actual feature work that we're doing, but if you look at it closely, it's more kind of maintenance to keep everything easy to work with. So the first one is to extract the key generation logic for events. So for there's in Redis HLL, when we have a logic to generate keys to store the counts in, this should be extracted so that we can also use it with Redis, because one of the goals up top is to create total count metrics with timeframes, which is not something that we have currently. So if you want to do a total event count with Redis, you can just do it over all time. Ideally, what we want to get to is to also there enable people to do like the standard 7 days and 28 days on top of the all time. And for that, we want to kind of reuse the key generation logic. And then there's a bunch more things to simplify the current setup. So that's removing the name field from the metric definition. That's something we, I think, already talked about. This is really just removing a lot of code. And I guess one of the biggest parts there is just making sure that also all mentions of this in the documentation get removed. Simplifying the service ping context. This also is kind of connected to some of the feature work above in the sense that it's going to make it easier if we use the same service ping context, regardless whether it's a Redis or Redis HLL metric, and don't have to kind of send different types of contexts, because in the end that this is not needed. So you can also look into the issue for a clear description. And then I think all of you know that, or actually have kind of shown that we have access to Monte Carlo now to create alerts. And one thing that we want to instrument there that we haven't so far is the version app. So part of that is that the version app needs to be connected, or the database needs to be connected to Monte Carlo. But as soon as this has happened, if this happens during the milestone, we can also start connecting and instrumenting alerts there. Because ideally, I think whenever something happens within our infrastructure, for example, we don't get as many service pings as we normally expect to get, or they're missing a lot of data. Those kinds of issues, ideally, we already know before the data ends up in the data warehouse. Because, I mean, this whole process of putting the data into the data warehouse, I mean, I think Padawan is working on making this faster, but it's still going to take time. And the earlier we know about any incidents, the more time we have to react. And the last,
sorry, just a quick follow-up on this. Yeah, we have OKR for the next quarter to improve this and try to be very proactive as possible. So yeah, that's it. That's the work from our side expected. So thanks. Sorry for that.
And the last for us is kind of this is more of a spike. So we have our Go configurator, the analytics configurator, where we, I mean, it's working now, but I think a few of the things are not ideal. One of them is the error handling, and we want to kind of investigate a bit more how we can make this better, make it more up to standard, and especially make sure that if something goes wrong while setting up different tables in the database, that we have a complete rollback of everything, so that no kind of traces of wrong tables or anything remain if something happens during the setup. And just so everyone knows, there's one bug currently assigned. There might be more coming in. So this is something that might change during the milestone. There's one bug that I think Piotr and me were kind of connected to, with the reporting of certain metrics from geo-enabled instances, which we might need to take a look at. So this is, I mean, in general, we're supposed to kind of spend around 10% of our time on bugs. The one bug that is currently listed here is just so that we don't forget about it, because this should automatically be solved by one of the other issues around removing the known events. But there might be more things coming in. And actually, while I'm at this, one other thing that I just discussed yesterday with Dennis, where we also might need to react a bit more spontaneously and cannot 100% plan, is infrastructure is currently taking a look at the analytics stack setup, so the whole setup for product analytics, and together with some people from security, because in the end, when we're gonna add customers to use our product analytics setup, there's going to be so-called red data on the analytics stack. So red data is customer data. That's the most important data, which means that the analytics stack needs to be as secure as possible and needs to kind of be up to certain standards that GitLab has in general for any kind of infrastructure that directly handles customer data. They're currently taking a look, and there might be issues kind of tumbling out of that where we also need to help with changing something around the infrastructure to make it more secure. It's not 100% clear yet what there is specifically for us to do. I mean, what there is to do in general, but then also specifically what is there for us to do and what can infrastructure do on their own. But just so that you know, I might ping you if we need any kind of help with that. Any questions towards the maintenance or bug issues? All right. I think that's it from my side then as well. Okay. So yeah, I think that's it for the 16.2 presentation. Like Danuja already said, I think we should also acknowledge that we already did quite a bit of work towards our OKRs. And I think we're making really good progress, and let's hope that we can continue that within the next month. Actually, one thing before I forget it, because that's, I think, kind of important. We have Mikolaj is now kind of out of the group for now, and he was one of the persons working a lot on internal events tracking. Jonas, who is the other person who mainly spearheaded this part, is also going to be out during most of July. I think it's like still going to be here for around 2 weeks, which means that I would appreciate if people kind of start picking up or assigning themselves issues they want to work on with regards to internal events, and then reach out to Jonas to kind of understand what is happening, or like first maybe read through the description, see if it's all clear already. And I'm pretty sure Jonas would be up for pair programming or Q&As or whatever you need.
Yeah, we can just go kind of go through suggested thing. I think when we wrote the issues, they were kind of with the existing work in mind. So there might be some context missing if you have been involved in that. Yeah. I also have a great opportunity because I have a merge request getting ready for review that Mikolaj has been helping, have been reviewing. And I don't know if it would be better to switch reviewer to one from that is more available on the team, or if Mikolaj should finish. It's the first review, so we will also have to do a maintainer review. I don't know. That's also, I don't know how much I should disturb Mikolaj or not keep him isolated.
Last week I was working a little bit on internal events, so if it was fine to me, I have it fresh in the first.
So you'll be up for the review?
Yeah, totally, absolutely.
Yeah,
even though I'm kind of out capacity, but still assigned to me. And since we're talking about internal events, I have to say that when I started working on it last week, it was very confusing because I found the proposal documentation, and it's just proposal. It's not so there's all documentation we have. There is no internal events even mentioning, and then we have proposal, which is kind of our view. And to figure out what was implemented or not, was quite problematic. And then I had to jump through many issues, and I figured out that my issue is actually also blocked because some features are not implemented. So yeah, it's kind of it's not a blocker, but it's what we call it's slowing down the work, like
Yeah. I think one of the things we want to get to very before I go on vacation is to have the initial documentation in there. So it's kind of, because it's true, it's kind of like we're not really covering the current state in any documentation right now, and that is not very easy to pick up then.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think we have an issue in the current milestone to create a quick start guide, which would, I think, be this kind of first start of, okay, this is how you would currently set up a event, and these are the things that are covered already, compared to the prototype, which is more this pie in the sky vision. Probably it might be a good idea to kind of prioritize this more, and especially at least after after your current MR is merged, kind of prioritize to get this in and then like iterate on it while we add more features to the whole thing. That's true. I think it's currently a bit too much at the bottom of things. Good feedback, Nico. I think that's very valid. I think we kind of missed this part of evolving the documentation alongside what we're doing here.
Yeah, so for some more context, I also worked on one issue with the internal events, and in my case, I basically just looked at the previous MR, which already implemented one of the events, and basically just copied what was there. And this was easy to do. But yeah, I have no idea about the documentation that we have right now.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's definitely that's something we also need to, before we can hand it to anyone outside of the team. We don't want to make everyone suffer like Nico did.
I didn't really suffer, but maybe we can just do it, make a little page at bottom of the page on our instrumentation class, mostly for ourselves. Once merge request is prepared, just add a couple of links at least to the classes and say this class can already be used, or this method is will be implemented soon. So we can kind of short summary for us. Can even be marked as in development or something like that. Yeah. Just single source of truth on current events. Once merge event is merged, I mean that this feature is at least here, and we can look there instead of jumping through the many issues which can even overlap sometimes.
Okay. Yeah. Good idea. Okay. Yeah, so let's make sure of that. And then also, like I said before, feel free to assign yourself those issues and then kind of talk to Jonas if there's any more kind of in detail questions. I have a few more announcements just to wrap things up. One thing I think we haven't talked to since the layoffs happened is back then we lost our software engineer in test, Carlo, who was working on kind of end-to-end testing things and a few issues for us. Since recently, with the recent incidents, kind of the whole question around end-to-end testing, things like service ping, at least to an extent, came up again. I reached out to the testing team, and we're actually going to get a new software engineer in test who is mainly going to work with us, apart from the general QA duties on their side, in July. So that's a person that already signed an offer and is supposed to start on the 31st of July. I wasn't able to see kind of more of the profile, but I'm really looking forward to that. So we're going to have a bit more help on that front, or someone kind of who can help us dedicated with testing, with end-to-end testing things, and also move things forward there. The other part that was also kind of spontaneous at the end of last week, beginning of this. So you all know that Nikolai moved to the AI enablement team. This team grew quite a bit. So there's like, I think 10 to 12 people borrowed from all over the place working on AI enablement features. And they tapped me to help out with engineering management duties there as well. Because so far it's mostly Tim and Michelle covering things, which means I'm going to split my time for the time being a bit between analytics instrumentation and helping out on their side. In general, if there's anything pressing on the analytics instrumentation side, I'm still here. So it's not the same as with Mikolai, who's completely borrowed out. For me, it's more, yeah, probably 60% analytics instrumentation, 40% AI enablement, where I'm gonna help with a few things. But this might also mean that anything that's not high priority might fall under the table. If you have anything that has high priority, then just kind of let me know. You can always reach me on Slack or something if I, out of some reason, then don't react quickly enough within GitLab. Yeah, because I also need to now read up on AI stuff and figure out things over there as well. And then the last thing, which is a very, very positive thing in general, but we kind of realized it too late, is that we have $500 of budget until the end of July to organize get-togethers. So that's $500 per person. As far as we know right now, this can even be pooled, which means if we can figure out something where it costs less than $500 for most people, we can spend the additional amount of money that we have. So I don't know if there's like a leftover $100 per person, we can spend that on a different person if someone needs to come in from further away or anything. This was announced in one of the last engineering all hands, but kind of flew under the radar. I also missed it completely, and Dennis and me both only realized it last week. And we're now kind of scrambling to organize something, because if we don't spend the money until end of July, it's just going to be poof, gone. So I think it would be really cool to use this money. It's a bit of a shame that we don't have more time to organize something, or kind of a bigger time frame to organize it, to be more accommodating to everyone. So I apologize in advance, because I know that some people might be on vacation, or it might not work out for everyone. But I'd still appreciate it if we can all try to figure out if we can make it happen for some of those times. It's across the whole section to enable us to meet a few more people. There's also meetups going on for other parts of the engineering org. Some of them are regional. I'm going to try to find them all. So there's also a possibility, if you cannot make it to our own meetup, there might also be the possibility to just join in with another group or with something more regional. I think, for example, India is doing something which is kind of just trying to get everyone from India together, regardless of what exact group they're working in. And unfortunately, it's also engineering specific. So sorry for product data and so on. Unfortunately, this is not covered by that budget. So yeah, but I'd appreciate all of you voting as soon as possible within that form that's linked in the issue, because that enables us to kind of move quicker on organizing something and hopefully making this happen. I would really like to at least meet some of you somewhere, wherever that may be. All right, and then we're on time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out also to me or to Nucho or anyone afterwards as well. Have a nice day, everyone.
Thanks, Basti. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
See you.